Hey everyone, this is Steve Good, and welcome to our inaugural chat of the podcast, now on YouTube and probably on Vimeo. And Yuri, welcome. It's great to see you live on the actual, we're talking together face to face. This is cool.
Right. Thank you, Steve. Again, it's fantastic to be here and also to see you. This is nice. This will be fun. Rather than me guessing when you're going to speak, I can actually see it live.
You don't want to guess when I'm going to speak.
No.
Well, the fun just begins now.
It definitely does. So
have you tried spending any Bitcoin? Because I certainly did, and it was once again another entertainment session.
Oh, I think yours will be. So I did, but mine was just chatting with my Uber driver when I got back from visiting my parents a couple weeks ago. But it wasn't that exciting. We just talked about it on the way back, and he turns out is very excited about what's going on with Bitcoin, and didn't know how to actually do that. But he said that he would listen to our podcast to find out. So that's my little brief.
Well, then we've got 2 wins this week because I got a similar one. So I had to go to therapy because I've got a problem with my shoulder from a ski accident from more years ago than I want to tell because I would give my age away. Anyway, so every so often it flares up again and I have to go back and, get a little bit of twisting and turning and all such. But anyway, so at the end I'd said, is it possible to pay with Bitcoin? And you know what? She knew what Bitcoin was. She's like, oh, I know it's a digital currency and all that. She said, but, I don't know how it works. How does it work? And then she starts asking me questions about how it works. And I said, I have a podcast. She said, great.
Oh, good. So we got 2 new listeners this week.
So you might notice the subscriber count went up by 2.
That's right. Just jumped right up.
Yeah, it's an enormous jump. I mean, I'm really excited about it. But at least she knew what it was. I mean, I wasn't expecting my physical therapist to accept it, but
yeah.
At least my shoulder feels better.
Hey, that's great. Your shoulder feels better, and we've got another podcast listener. That's a win. 2 wins.
That's a double whammy, yeah.
That's right.
So those of us who are only listening to the podcast and can't see us live, of course, I'm sorry, but, I was wiggling my shoulder for you.
Just to prove. You're like, this is how it works.
It's a little bit better than it was last week.
Absolutely. Yeah. Awesome.
Yeah. So as you know, this week we're going to talk about exchanges and how to get listed on them and why don't you know which exchange you're going to be on? And there's lots of stuff that I see going on every day in these Telegram channels. So I thought it might be a good opportunity just to tell people, stop asking.
Well, it's good. I mean, it's kind of a fair question because if you're putting money into an ICO, you want to know when they're going to be on exchange because you want the value to go up. So
I just gave you Ether. When am I getting my Ether back in your coin so that it's in my hands again?
Exactly. That's pretty much it. When I get my money back, that's how it works.
Yeah. So, I mean, first of all, there's about, 100 plus exchanges out there. So of course, think about it like you're the ICO and you're sitting there saying, well, I'm going to launch my project and all that. And people are saying, well, hang on a second, when is it going to be listed? And you're saying, well, I don't even know which exchange I'm going to choose yet. I got to pick. And interestingly enough, I mean, if you look at all the exchanges, there's a range of exchanges and there are different users using different exchanges in different places in the world. Mm-hmm. So the first thing you got to think about as an ICO or somebody that's getting their coin listed is, which exchange should I actually be on? Or how many should I be on? Which countries am I targeting? Where are my users? So if you're launching a global platform like most people are, then you want to get global coverage. And actually, you're sitting there on the Telegram channel not really thinking about the fact that starting point A is, I have to build a strategy around where I'm going to put my coin and which or how many exchanges. And then I need to consider the costs because you can pay as little as, let's say, one Bitcoin, sometimes less because there's some deals out there for newer exchanges. And you can pay, a lot to get listed on an exchange, 40 Bitcoin or more.
Wow. Wait, so which are like the highest cost?
Oh yeah.
Exchange?
So there's the big ones are like Binance, for example, where you have to put down an enormous deposit plus you have to pay for listing. And then you've got, ones like HitBTC, which charge a ridiculous amount for listing. KuCoin, Huobi Pro. So the big, tier one exchanges tend to demand much higher, and they do a combination of things like they're asking for a deposit, and they're also asking for actual fees. And that gets into another interesting point about, well, what are the fees to get listed on an exchange? And there are actually a couple of different things. One is you have to pay for a per pair. So if you're going to, for example, if you're going to have your coin listed on the Bitcoin trade pair, so Bitcoin coin X, then that would be a fee of X. But if you're going to have 2 trade pairs, then you have to pay more. And now you start to realize there's a multiplier here, because if you want to be on 3 exchanges and you want to have Bitcoin and Ether as your trade pairs, that's 6 trade pairs you need to pay for across 3 exchanges. And then all of a sudden you start to realize, how can an ICO know how much money they're going to spend until they know how much they've raised? Have they reached their soft cap and their hard cap? And they need to budget accordingly. Are they going to go for tier 1 exchanges? Or are they going to go for tier 2 exchanges? There's a lot of options. And then which markets or countries, when I say markets, I mean countries or regions, do you want to consider? So in reality, it's probably not very fair to even ask people, notwithstanding the fact that the exchanges are generally not going to say, oh, sure, we're going to list you, and you haven't even done your raise yet.
Right.
So there's a reality check here, which is, of course, I get it. And you're right, 100% right. People want to know, hey, I'm going to be putting my coins into this. Where am I going to get them out afterwards? And I don't want them in like some, dodgy, crappy exchange just because that's all you could afford. I want to know that you're at least going to be on sort of a tier 2, like a Mercatox, Livecoin, X rates, or are you going to be a tier 1 like Huobi or Binance or Bittrex or whatever, KuCoin. So there's a lot of implications in terms of deciding how much money have I got? Can I afford to even get on those exchanges? Will I even pass the test when I apply?
Oh, so what are kind of the, like, besides the fact that I'm going to give you money, what are some of the tests or the criteria?
Hey, did you hear that, everybody? Yuri's going to give me some money.
That's right, to be on your exchange. Turkey Coin's going to be on your exchange. So enough. How do I get? So what do I do? So here we go.
That's a really good question. So here's the thing. I mean, not every exchange follows the same rules, but there are kind of more or less, I would say, 2 types of exchanges. Those who just kind of say, pay me money and I'll list you. Of course, they won't list anybody. They still have criteria, but their criteria are a fairly low bar of acceptance, often through relationships. And then there's the other side of things where exchanges say, we want to be a little bit careful who we put on the exchanges. And there's a couple of different ways this happens. So first of all, if I kind of just run through, I made a little list over here because I didn't
please do.
Them. So there's a couple of things. Some of the bigger exchanges by name, like Binance, KuCoin, they will usually say, how much did you raise? Did you raise 20 million, 30, 40 million? Oh, 2 million? Yeah. You were really a hot ICO, guys. Yeah, we really want you on our exchange. So already you can see, just by I say how much, you're laughing, saying, yeah, I get it, right? So how much you put in is or how much you raised is a factor, because those exchanges will know, if it's a low volume of coins, of ICO money raised, it means the trade transaction volume is going to probably be very low. The user following will probably be very low, and the coin won't do very well on their exchange. And that means they won't be making money because they make money from trades.
Right.
And they have to make effort to get you listed. So why would they charge you 100 BTC as a deposit and then find out that, you don't even have the money? Mismatch. Right. So that's one factor. Some of them will look at your smart contracts, actually, and they will look to see, did the trades that went onto the smart contract, are there lots of zero value transactions on the exchange, or is it more just, everything's smiling and happy, lots of entries of half an ether, 2 ether, 4 ether, 3 ether going through one by one, or are there lots of errors? I mean, you don't want to have, who wants to take you if you've got error after error message on your smart contract and tons of zero value, which happens if your smart contract isn't designed properly, because there's a number of ways that smart contracts get designed. I'm not an expert in that, but I've heard stories. So, you don't want zero value, you don't want errors, and you don't want transactions failed. Those are the 3. And if you're already designing a smart contract not considering that, then you shouldn't be doing an ICO. So just stop. Don't do an ICO if you can't get your smart contract right, and get the smart contract out in the public at least 3 days before. Give your developers go onto GitHub and give them a chance to look at the thing. Rant finished. Okay, so the next one is some of the exchanges, believe it or not, have built their little own algorithmic analyzers.
Oh, okay.
And what they do is they look for things like, how many posts were you posting on Twitter, Facebook, Bitcoin Talk? They want to know, were you active, or were you just kind of waiting for money to come in? Right? Because it shows that how active you were yourselves, how much engagement you had. They can't read out of Telegram so easily, but they can certainly read your Twitter and your Facebook posts. And they say, number one, how many posts? How much hashtags did you use? The second thing they look for, and this is even more interesting, is they'll look for sentiment.
Oh.
Yeah.
Sentiment. That's really
so they're sitting there analyzing positive, neutral, or negative sentiment generally.
Yeah.
Like I say, there's some of them that do this, probably a lot of them that don't. I don't know actually which ones do or don't do it. I know that some do it. I won't name them, but I know that some do this. And because I could get it wrong, and there could be others that say, hey, you didn't mention me, and then I'll have a lot of comments in the description below, which I'm not really hate mail because you didn't mention my exchange has algos or doesn't do it. And you said they did. Anyway, the point is that, it's good that they're doing this because they're looking to find out whether you generally had positive comments and sentiment about your project while you were running the ICO, or whether people were generally negative about you even if you raised the money. Because negative sentiment, why would they want a negative coin on their platform?
Right.
So I've covered off the minimum amount, the smart contract stuff, the number of posts, the sentiment of the post. So here's number 5 is that they will look to see how many followers you have on Telegram.
Oh, okay.
And
so they can't track your sentiment, but they can track your followers or number of followers?
I think they probably do. I'm not sure if they're doing that one manually, or if they just, because if you just if you put the URL for that particular Telegram channel, there's like a window that pops up on the browser to start with that says number of followers, even if you don't join. So I don't know how advanced they are with this, but I've heard that some of them are actually looking at total number. And I've even heard that some of them will use APIs to look and see how many are real versus bots. I don't know if that's for real, but I've heard stories about this. So needless to say, they are going to look and see if you've got 10,000 or 100,000 people in your Telegram. And I think the benchmark is 25K is about what you're looking for.
Okay.
There's a lot of ICOs that are succeeding with 8 or 10,000, which is great.
Yeah.
But it doesn't suggest you have enough following to justify a big trade volume when you actually get on the exchange. They're looking to see you've got a lot of followers. Lots of followers on Twitter, lots of followers. So looking at the number count, Twitter, Facebook, Bitcoin Talk, Telegram, do they have a lot of followers or do they not have a lot of followers? And it's just a metric. And then here's the fun one.
Okay.
They check out your profiles on LinkedIn to see that you're real.
So they do the extra work, all the things that we talked about on whether or not ICO was real. They do all that work.
Or scam, and they're doing some of the same kind of stuff. They're checking to see, is your LinkedIn profile exists? So I think they look at the website and they do click-throughs from the website and verify that all the profiles are authentic. And then how many people are they connected to?
Yeah.
So if you're running your project and you've never used LinkedIn before, you better get on LinkedIn and start connecting with people. You should do that anyway because the blockchain community wants to know you. It's normal. So some of this is for the ICOs themselves. Hopefully those who are new ICOs listening realize that, when you go through a process of launching an ICO, most people are not actually thinking about, hey, hang on a second, when I finish this thing, I want to get listed on an exchange. But your users are already thinking about this. They're already asking the questions. They're already saying, where are you going to get listed?
Oh, yeah.
For God's sakes, guys, if you're going to launch an ICO, make sure you know where you're going to be. Think about it. Think about the things you need to do to plan for that. Where do you want to be? How many users do you want to have on your platform to begin with? Is it going to be a successful ICO? It will be if you have lots of user engagement and you're thinking about designing smart contracts and you're thinking about how to create positive rather than negative sentiment. You're making sure your profiles are all updated. All that stuff that we always talk about how to run a good ICO and how to run a good company. generating awareness that leads to people then saying, oh, I know who they are. I recognize the image. I'm looking at the documentation, the fact matching. I see that they're relevant to me. I like what they're doing. Yeah, I think I want to invest in this project. Guess what? It's all the same thing, just from the exchange's point of view now, not the user's point of view.
Mm-hmm. But that's good to know. They kind of like double check your work on that one.
Yeah, and I think it's good that they're doing that. So that's more or less what goes on. So, so for those of you listening that are asking, how come I don't know if which exchange I'm going to be on? This is why, because the ICOs don't know yet, because they need to finish a process. Now, there are cases where an exchange will be approached by an ICO who's finished a pre-ICO, very strong in the pre-ICO or in the phase one of an ICO, if there's 2 or 3 phases. And if the phase one has been very, very strong and they've got a strong following and good connects and good relationships, they can get pre-listed. Okay. It doesn't mean they're listed officially. It means the announcements have been made. There might be conditions in the contract, like they have to still do certain things. But I do see examples of projects where they've publicly said, yep, we're going to be on this ICO, on this exchange, and the ICO has announced it, the exchange has announced it, and that's cool. That's really nice. I like that. It's great to see that that's happening. But it's just it's part of the whole, experience, I suppose.
Yeah, definitely. So once they're on the actual exchanges themselves, I'm curious about market makers. So
yeah, right. So this is the stuff that I think probably 99.9% people don't even know about. This is really cool stuff, actually. So good. So I'm glad you brought this up, actually, because it is a really important factor. So first of all, do you know what a market maker is?
I do, in the traditional NASDAQ.
Right.
Yeah.
So a real market maker in the context of a NASDAQ or a FTSE or DAX or whatever real exchange, buying and selling FX, like, foreign exchange or equity shares. Their main job is really to create a market of buyers and sellers. And a market maker makes their money from the difference between the buy and sell. They're also creating liquidity. So they're sitting there trying to generate trades, not by trying to generate trades. They're trying to make money as market makers, but their main job is to make sure that there's a clear buy and sell side and a spread. The spread being the buy is higher and the sell side is lower, because you're not going to immediately buy something and sell it. You have to create a difference between the two. The buy side is always higher. So that's what market makers are doing. They're creating liquidity. They're creating the spread. And they're effectively, by doing that, they're making the market. And of course, there's always people who say, oh, I don't like market makers and blah, blah, blah. They're manipulating and everything else. But actually, their job is to make sure that there is a clear buy and sell spread, where the difference is not like 10 points difference. It's like 1 or 2 points. It's a small gap, but enough that they can make their difference, their money on the gap. Now, here's where it gets a little bit more interesting, is when you get into crypto. Because the exchanges, interestingly enough, are demanding or asking you to confirm that you can guarantee a certain amount of volume in trading for the first 2 or 3 months.
Oh, okay.
Right? Now, is that normal? I don't really know. I mean, I've done my research and tried to find out. I haven't, if there's any guys out there or girls in financial services, women, financial services who know market making better than this, by all means, jump in and share your experiences. But I'm not under the impression that it's about guaranteeing volume. It's about liquidity, meaning there's a certain amount of cash available for a buy or sell, and making money on the spread. Yeah. But the market makers are expecting volume as well. Okay. A certain number of trades of 10 BTC, 100 BTC, 1,000 BTC per month. And so the market makers in crypto are making their money per trade pair. Oh. And they're charging anywhere between $10,000 and $15,000 per month per trade pair. So if you get listed on an exchange, not only do you have to pay the fees to get listed on the exchange, and the fees to pay deposits, and sometimes the fees for the suppliers who help you get listed on the exchange, because there's a number of suppliers out there who do that. On top of that, you have to pay market makers.
Wow.
Right? Now, the way market makers work in crypto is you have to give the market maker per month a certain minimum amount of Ether and an equivalent amount of your own tokens or coins.
Wow.
Okay.
That's a good business to be in.
Yeah.
This
You know
market
what
making.
you're doing. And you need traders who know how to trade this stuff, because they have to make sure that they're not losing money. They're simply maintaining volume by the buy and sell and creating the market, which is really good. You need to create the market anyway. So you need market makers in the traditional sense. So the way they work is they have Ether and coins, or possibly Bitcoin and coins, so that they can trade on those individual markets for that particular coin. So they have both buy and sell side. They're operating on both buy and sell side. And they're creating liquidity like normal, and they're creating a minimum amount of trade volume. Yeah. So that the coin is able to say, yay, we did it. After 3 months, we're still on the exchange.
Right.
And there's a couple of market makers out there. So I did a little research, and I'll just name them off, and I'll give a shout out to a couple of the guys I've spoken to. So a shout out to ICO Brothers, good group of guys I've spoken to. I've spoken to Platinum, good group of guys, different location in the world. And the third one I've not spoken to, but by all means, guys, if you hear this podcast and you want to talk to me, is GSR. Okay. So those are three. I know there's others, but those are the three of the ones I see in the market more frequently. I've spoken to 2 out of 3 of them. So just hello, guys. Nice to know you. And that's it. I'm not promoting anything here. But those, ICO Brothers and Platinum both do both exchange listings as well as market making. As far as I know, GSR just does the market making. I might be wrong, but when I looked at their website, that seems to be their main focus. But all 3 of them effectively cover this band and this space of this conversation. So, it's interesting to see that there's actually companies that are, creating themselves in this space. And interesting that I don't or have not come across so far any traditional financial services companies in the market making space who have moved into this crypto space yet. Yeah, I'm surprised that hasn't happened yet. But I haven't come across any. I mean, because I talk to lots of ICOs all the time, and they all pretty much name the same few companies generally. And there's lots and lots of independent agents. Whether these agents are, solid in what they do. Solid agents, I mean, in terms of exchange listing is one, and the other is in terms of market making. There's individuals who are out there doing this kind of stuff, but it's hard to verify and validate their capability, their services, because they'll say, give me 30 BTC and I'll get you listed on exchange X, and you're like, right. I have to just trust you, I guess. Yeah. Whereas the larger scale companies that are doing this, they generally broker the relationship with you, with the exchanges. They know the application form. They do the due diligence initially to help you through the exchange listing process. They help you with having their own market makers to manage liquidity for you, make sure that you have buy and sell sides being, created. Of course, if more people are selling than buying, they create the buy and sell sides as it moves, but they're just trading on the difference between buy and sell side and making sure there's a market there. The fact that they're creating volume, I don't understand how that works. That's okay. I'm not a technical trader, so I don't really need to know. But that's the nuts and bolts of it. And I think I just wanted to share this with people because I'm constantly hearing about, when are you going to be on an exchange? Why aren't you going to be listed on an exchange? Why you don't know? This is why they don't know, because there's a lot of money that's involved. And they need to know how much they've raised. So the sooner you guys put your money into the ICO, the sooner they can get listed on the exchange, and the sooner you get your money back. That is the stark reality of how this works. Right. All right. Well, good. Well, thank you so much for going through this process, because I know it definitely helped me. And one thing I forgot to mention is that, when you finish an ICO and you start the exchange listing process, it does take time. It's 2 to 3 weeks is sort of at the bottom end, the minimum side of things. But I've seen it take 2-3 months. If an ICO goes and does it without an agent, generally I think it takes longer because they're having to apply on their own. They don't know what they're doing. They're just going through an application process, and they don't know whether the way they're going about the process is correct or not. And if you go through an agent, usually it's done a little bit faster. more efficiently. And there's actually one other thing I forgot to mention, in fact, which is that there are actually one other factor is that some of the exchanges are also doing a consensus-based voting, where if you hold tokens, for example, on KuCoin, if you have KuCoin coins, or if you're on their exchange, and I'm not exactly sure how it works because I haven't done it myself, although I use KuCoin just generally for trading, but I haven't done the voting side of things. But they will list about 10 or 15 tokens every so often, or coins that are ICOs that have completed, and you get to vote on which one you want to list on the platform.
Oh, wow.
So not only can you do a direct application process with some of these guys, but you can also just go ahead and get voted into the exchange as well.
Yeah, well, that's good. It's like a popularity contest, but that's a good thing.
And it's actually quite interesting, because this goes back to what I said at the beginning. If you've built a user community, and your user community is 25 or 30,000 strong on Telegram, and you've got 10,000 on your Twitter, and okay, maybe not Facebook now that most people aren't using Facebook for crypto anymore, but Bitcoin Talk might be, sizable. That's a user community that you should be tapping into, and you should easily get a lot of votes if your users that bought the coins are all really committed to the cause and the project, and they want your coin to succeed. Of course, they're going to vote for you. So you should get 20, 30, 40,000 votes with ease if you're already a successful ICO. So it kind of goes back to the same point. So Huobi Pro has just started doing the same thing with voting. I know another exchange that's launching in, I think, June, July timeframe, which is called SprintX. Or it's not SprintX, it's called SwitchX, the same company.
SwitchX.
SwitchX is the new exchange that's being launched out of Switzerland, but it's a Central American company. And SwitchX is also going to have a consensus-based voting process, where people that actually hold the tokens will have voting power based on how many tokens they hold to vote for the exchanges. At least that's what I've seen in their white paper. So stop asking. When are you going to be on the exchange, and which ones? We don't know yet.
Right. But this is good to know. Again.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for breaking this down. I really appreciate it.
Breaking everyone's souls. I'm sorry you're not getting your money for another month or two, so just stop asking. I know. I mean, listen, when you invest in something, of course you want your money back. That's normal. I get that.
Yeah.
Nobody wants to just hand over their money, their Ether, their Bitcoin, their whatevers, and just wait. I mean, that's horrible. Of course you want to get your tokens back because you want to know the money's in your control. And that's the message I want to give back to ICOs, right? Is that if you're an ICO and you're launching a project, get your token on the exchange as soon as you can, because people have trusted you with their money, but they're not trusting with you to hold it. They're trusting you with the project. So that means that once that project is done, they want their tokens back in their hands. I mean, that's normal. It's their money. They've invested in you. And it's like if I buy shares in Microsoft, I'm not going to give my money to the NASDAQ or to E-Trade and sit there waiting for E-Trade to give me back my shares in 6 months. No, I get my shares in like 2 days. I mean, officially, 2 days. On E-Trade, it shows immediately, although there's actually a trade process in the background that takes 2 days or whatever it is. But, so, ICOs need to recognize that as well. So please, ICO guys, if you're out there listening, don't mess about with your user communities. Just start the process. I've given you guys hints and tips on how to do it for everyone. Now everyone knows what to go do, and don't call me.
Right. Awesome. Well, thank you. I appreciate that.
I hope that's been useful and helpful for you, Yuri, and of course for everyone who's watching or listening, because we're now on YouTube.
We are.
And I guess we'll be on Vimeo as well. We haven't, officially launched this, but this will be posted. Well, I'm saying it will be posted, and now that I'm saying it is posted. So, hello.
Exactly. Speaking from the future.
Yeah, it'll be, well, for those listening on the podcast, it will be up on YouTube shortly, and for those watching YouTube, hi.
Yeah.
So, anything else, Yuri, that you'd like to cover today about anything or everything, previous and past guests, weather conditions?
No, I think for this first go round, I'm good. So thank you so much on that one.
This was fun. I really enjoyed seeing you, actually.
Thank you. As did I.
People might be surprised to hear me saying that, but If we can't have fun, what can we do?
Exactly.
All right. Well, thank you, Yuri. Once again, always a pleasure to see you. I mean,
Well, thank you, sir.
It really is nice. It's a pleasure to see you. And to all of our users, thank you for listening in or for watching. Until next time, to the moon. How do I do it? No, I said it backwards. To the moon. Until next time.